Good to see everyone tonight. Our crowd's a little thin toward the back there. I think we've got several out of town. Of course, we've got some visiting in town, or the crowd really would be down. But anyway, we're glad that you're here. And for those of you that are going to be traveling tomorrow, I hope you will have a safe journey and just a great time with family and friends. And it's a great time of year. But appreciate your making the effort to come out tonight. Saturday, December 17th, 1927, an S-4 submarine was accidentally rammed by a Coast Guard cutter off the coast of Massachusetts. And the impact was so severe that the submarine sank almost immediately, and the entire crew was trapped inside this metal coffin. And all kinds of efforts were made to rescue the sailors trapped inside, but the seas were very heavy. There were gale winds. The water temperature was frigid, and there were just all kinds of problems that hampered the rescue effort. But nonetheless, there were divers there, and there were ships around trying to do something. And one of the Navy divers, as he's going around the submarine looking for damage to the hull, anyway, thought he heard some tapping on the hull, and so he puts his helmet, and this was the days of the metal helmets on the deep sea divers, but he put his metal helmet up to the side of the submarine, and he could hear, and he recognized Morse code, and he's listened, and over the message said, "Is there any hope? Is there any hope?" And of course, he didn't reply because he knew there was no hope. And if you think about it, the world is like that submarine, without hope. Or I should say the world was like that submarine, without hope. Those men inside that submarine eventually realized that they were going to die. There was no rescue. Even today it would be difficult to bring up a submarine that size, but especially 90 years ago with the limited equipment, limited capabilities that were available for rescue. Imagine the feelings of fear. Imagine the thoughts that ran through their minds as the air inside that submarine grew thinner and thinner, and that may not be the correct way to describe it, but the oxygen was consumed. And one by one, these sailors became groggy, they became sleepy, and they drifted off, never to awaken this side of eternity. What a horrible thing to happen. And yet on a far greater level, as we look at the world is in the same shape as that submarine crew. Trapped, lost, but you see, we have hope in the world today. That's the difference. Those sailors had no hope. But today, because of Jesus Christ, because of the sacrifice that was made years ago, we don't have to say there is no hope, there's no rescue, because provisions were made. Prior to Christ coming into the world, Satan had us. He had us in his control, in his grasp. We were separated from God, and as we've said before, without hope. Nothing to look forward to. But God in his mercy sent Jesus to come into the world, to live, to die, to make provisions for us. And through his word, he has proclaimed the message that says, here's what you need to do. Here is the way to be rescued. Here is the way to escape the grasp of Satan. But sadly, how many people in the world today don't listen? How many people don't care? How many people procrastinate and say, well, later. I'll do it when I'm older. I'll do it when I'm out of school. I'll do it when my family's older, when I'm more secure financially, and on the list of reasons go why people don't obey the gospel. And sadly, they're without hope. Not because hope's not available, but there's no hope because they refuse to do anything about it. Because they refuse to accept the salvation that's offered to them. Tonight, there may be those in our audience who have never yet rendered obedience to the gospel, and if you're one of those, then you're in a lost condition. You're without God, you're without Christ, you're without hope, you have no future. And I say that out of concern, I say that as kindly as I know how. But without Christ, there is no hope. But on the other hand, you still have life, and as long as there is life, you have the opportunity to obey the gospel, to come in faith, repenting and turning from your sins, to confess the name of Christ, that He is the Son of God, to be baptized for the forgiveness of your sins, to be added to His body, the church, to take advantage of that gift of the hope that's been given to us. This evening, if you're yet outside of Christ and you need to respond and you want to respond, you have the opportunity to do so. Let me encourage you to come if we can help you while we stand and while we sing.
707. 707.